Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Fed Up, your no BS nutrition podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Marie, certified personal trainer and nutrition specialist, working with clients since 2014. After swimming up diet culture's bullshit stream for so many years, I am fed the absolute up with how miserable it's making people feel when we are supposed to be getting healthier. This podcast is here to help you gain your sanity back so you can stop yo-yoing once and for all and finally learn how to trust yourself so you can enjoy food again without fear or shame while still getting to your health goals. My aim is to teach you how to detect the BS in not just the food and diet industries, but in all realms of life, because I know that, like me, we are all just a little fed up. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, welcome on back to another episode. Thank you so much for being here because we are talking about why everyone wants a prescribed meal plan and why I won't give you one. Now, this is a common reason for seeking out a trainer, a health coach, a nutritionist. The problem is we often seek out personal trainers and people who do not have formal nutrition training, and they do not technically have the proper scope of practice either, which means personal trainers, supplement store bros, anyone who is not a licensed registered dietitian nutritionist should not be telling you exactly what to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They should not be telling you exactly eat 100 grams of this. They should not be putting you on a ketogenic diet or any type of diet that has a name. This is a very specific scope for dietitians because nutrition impacts chronic disease and acute illnesses and other things that if you are dealing with that and you go to just a regular personal trainer who tells you to cut a major food group, or you have disordered eating or an eating disorder, and again, you are seeking help from someone who is not trained to deal with those types of things, you are at risk. And I want you to be able to feel equipped for creating your own quote unquote meal plan and creating some structure around your eating habits so that you don't fall for I just want a meal plan. It'll make everything easier, because here's the truth. You assume it will do three things. One, reduce your decision fatigue. I hear this all the time. Just tell me what to eat and I'll eat it. I'm really good at just following a plan. Really? Then how come the diet plan that you got a year ago doesn't work? Or the one that you got from this person doesn't work? Or like you haven't followed through with anything. Or I will get somebody who's like diet hopping, and so they're currently already in a really restrictive eating pattern. And it's like they're almost expecting me to tell them to restrict even more. And instead, when I say, I want you eating more food and not just relying on like chomps and protein shakes and bananas, and then they're like surprised. But this is the second thing. They assume that it'll get them the perfect nutrition for their goals. So they assume that if I tell them, eat this, eat this, that if they do that, it's going to like immediately change their health and change everything about them. And like, that's just not how that works. And then the third thing is, again, like this is going to be the answer to my problem. If all I had was a meal plan, then I could follow it. It would be the perfect nutrition for my goals, and it's the answer to my problem. And here's the issue. They say that 95% of diets fail, and that's not because weight loss is impossible, but it's because of this exact methodology. It's because you're trying to follow an exact meal plan or an exact diet structure that has all these rules, and adherence is incredibly low, is incredibly short-termed. And this incredibly restrictive way of doing things is why it fails, because flexibility, any type of flexibility, is seen as being off plan. It's seen as a failure. It's seen as I have to start over again. And my goal is that like nutrition, you don't have to start over. You have to eat every day. So you're making choices every single day, and you don't have to start over on Monday. You don't have to start on the 1st or no. We're just going to choose foods that are nutritious, that are accessible to us, that are palatable to us. Like there are ways to choose food without necessarily tracking or having a bunch of rules, which is kind of what we're going to talk about today. So another thing that happens is you're given a meal plan that doesn't really fit your life. It doesn't fit your habits. It doesn't fit your family. It doesn't even fit your preferences. I have had clients give me meal plans that they've been prescribed by other trainers or other places, and it like has food that they're allergic to on it. And they're like, well, what can I sub? I'm allergic to sweet potatoes. And I'm like, then why did your coach give you a sweet potato thing? Like what? Or it has shellfish on it and they're literally allergic to shellfish. Why would you do that? Because you just send the same meal plan to everybody because these people are grifters. So anyway, when you are asking me for a meal plan, my preferences, my culture, my history, what I have access to, what I personally buy is going to influence what I put in a nutrition plan, in a guide. Even just being in the higher education space, I'm in America, so I'm learning the most, Americanized version of these dietary patterns. Even when we do look at like Mediterranean or other types of, cuisine, we're still basing it off of, sandwiches and like American food. So if you go to India, the textbooks are going to look different and they will actually make a lot of recommendations for vegetarians and vegans because that's very, very high population in India and certain areas are vegan. So there are going to be influences. And who am I to tell you what to eat for breakfast because you might eat something completely different than me? Now, I can give you ideas. I can share with you, what I consider breakfast or what I eat for breakfast, but that may not apply to you. And that is so biased of me to be like, well, I have 2 eggs and an English muffin and some fruit. What if that's not what you want to eat? I mean, and again, it's not necessarily good or bad or like choose this food or don't choose that food. And it's a very, very slippery slope when professionals are doing this because again, just to take it to the extreme, if somebody has diabetes and I'm all about, low carb diets and then I tell them to cut all their carbohydrates, they go hypoglycemic and end up in the hospital. Like this is really, really serious for a lot of people. So when you are looking at trying to figure out what do I freaking eat, the first step is I actually want you to look at what you currently eat and then how you can just maybe make it a little bit better. Maybe add more protein, add more vegetable, add more sustenance because it's only 100 calories and you actually need more like 400 calories for a meal. So you can take what you're already eating and just make it a little bit better. Or again, take your favorite foods and see how you can incorporate those. And I kind of have a 4-part framework that I want you to think about. And it's 4 S's to make it easy to remember: staples, satisfaction, structure, and safety net. So let's go through all 4 of these right now. Staples. I want you to have staple meals and snacks. Reliability over variety, but then those times that you don't want to eat the same thing every time, you add in some variety. Or again, maybe the reliability is a type of food, and then you can just substitute or rotate through some of your favorite foods. But being able to have staple meals that are nutritious, delicious, easy, convenient, fit your lifestyle, and it's not the drive-through, right? It's going to reduce that decision fatigue. A meal plan doesn't do that, but having staples that you can rely on when you are tired, when you know that you're just running out the door and you need to just grab something really quick, right? Those are your best friends. And then you can audit those meals and snacks and be like, oh, this is only 150 calories. Maybe I need to eat a little bit more than that for breakfast. Or, oh, this doesn't have any fiber in it. Maybe I can add a fiber source. So you can just start to play around with some of your favorite meals already, because this is going to drastically increase the likelihood of you actually sticking to it. Because as soon as I've had so many people tell me this, as soon as a doctor, a naturopath, usually a trainer, whoever it is, tells my client or tells somebody, well, you can't have dairy, you can't have gluten, you can't have white bread, you can't have refined sugar, you can't have carbohydrates, whatever it may be. And with or without a medical reason for this, like if you have, celiac, obviously you probably should cut out gluten, but doing so without real structure and advice in how to do that, I've had clients be like, so I'm supposed to just like get rid of all this stuff in my house. So they either want to throw it away, which like, no, we don't want to increase the food waste, or they feel really guilty the entire week because they're just like eating all the food that they're not allowed to have because they're going to have to cut it out next week, which one can make your symptoms worse if it's actually something that you have to cut out. And two, it only creates more spiral because you're now getting in this mindset and you're feeding the feedback loop of food is going away. I have to consume a lot of it now. And then later down the road, say you do cut it out on Monday, that lasts for a couple of weeks, a week, couple days, however long you could last. And then when it's in front of you, you have zero control over it. Or you don't know what to replace it with. I always use this analogy because we can kind of envision this type of person. I am always a little bit yellow flag, red flag when a teenager starts to say they want to go vegetarian, which is pretty common. We, start to see the truth of the food industry and whatever it may be. Teenage girl, she's not eating because dad, mom, they are not vegetarians and they made steak and potatoes and mom put potatoes or milk and butter in the potatoes and she wants to go vegan. So instead, all she has is the bread or all she has is some romaine lettuce, right? So like, if you are not in charge of what you're eating, I don't necessarily recommend restricting anything, especially if you're a child or again, if maybe like you're relying on convenience foods and processed foods, maybe for accessibility reasons, or it's just convenient. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have to cut out all processed foods. Well, what are you going to do with all of that food in your kitchen? You're just going to either binge it and eat it all, or you're going to throw it away and contribute to food waste. So that's not what I want you to do. I want you to look at what you have in your kitchen, what's your habits that you've already established, right? And then how can we make that a little bit better? So go to snacks, go to restaurant orders even, and I want you to know your tendencies. How often do you normally eat out? When do you eat? What do you have to grab when you're hungry? Or do you just like skip it because you have to run out the door, right? So can we add a pre-made protein shake? Can we add some cuties or an apple that you can just grab on the way out? So these little, again, kind of habits that we want to implement need to happen slowly and according to your tendencies and the flow of your life. So number 2, the first is staples. The second is satisfaction. You want to eat food you actually like in ways that you actually like it. So if you don't like steamed vegetables that are without seasoning, don't do that to yourself. And don't jump on the weird diets that are like only salt and pepper and you can't have this and you can't have that. And no, make your food taste good. And I'm not saying to deep fry everything. Yes, you want to maybe add a little bit more unsaturated fats like olive oil, avocado oil over things like beef tallow, despite what you might hear. But you want to be cooking your own food? Sure, absolutely. Learn how to cook it well. Learn how you actually like it, because this is why restaurant food tastes so much better. And a lot of times you are like, well, when I cook at home, it's just not that good, right? Yeah, you can enjoy restaurant food for sure. But if you actually learn how to cook, if you actually learn how to make your food taste good and you're not bamboozled by the fact that you have to eat like plain boiled chicken and like dry lettuce, don't do that to yourself. Make it taste good for sure. And preparation matters a lot, because I think there's something that goes into like making your own food and knowing how you like it and being able to make it your own that also increases the likelihood of you actually eating it. But at the same time, again, have some convenient options. I'm always about that. But foods you actually like. Use dips, use seasonings, add texture. The satisfaction factor is also what I highly encourage people to do, because a lot of times you're eating like a protein and a vegetable because you're trying to eat healthy. You need like some chips. You need something sweet. You need something bubbly. You need something that is actually going to satisfy you, not just on a tummy level, but on a mental level, on a texture level, on a taste level. So the satisfaction factor is like adding some chips to your sandwich, right? Or adding some ranch to your veggies, or having a sweet treat, right? Or adding like, I don't know, cheese and whatever it looks like for you, that it tastes good and it increases the likelihood of you eating it. And that doesn't mean it's unhealthy. And it doesn't mean it's low calorie every time either, but you can balance this with nutritious, delicious food that you don't have to feel like guilty about because it tastes good. That's silly. We're allowed to eat food that tastes good. So, staples, satisfying staples. And number 3, we add structure. Now that we have some staples, we can reach for the same things over and over again without really thinking about it much. We can start to experiment and create really yummy food and add more things to our meals to make them satisfying, right? But also we want to be nutritious. So give yourself some structure. Maybe your formula is, okay, a protein, a carb, a fat, if you like macronutrients, right? Maybe it's a protein, a veggie, a grain. Maybe it's eat the rainbow. Maybe it's, I don't know, whatever it looks like for you, creating this formula that gets you all of the nutrition in there is essential here. I don't want you to only be eating chicken and broccoli. Okay, where is the variety there per day? Like, switch up the vegetable, maybe. That could be your quote unquote eat the rainbow. But where's your grain, your carb, your complex satisfaction factor that is going to keep you full, keep you satisfied, actually make this meal taste good? Sometimes it is just chicken and veg and you're happy with that. Not every meal has to taste good, right? Or has to be like this gourmet 3-course thing. But again, variety and diversity is really important, but coming back to that formula of protein. Okay, but I can switch the protein up, right? Fish, meat, tofu, beans. Okay, what's my carb? What's my starch? What's my grain that's going to fill me up? Some couscous, some rice, some noodles. Okay, what's my vegetable? Is it a sweet potato? Is it a broccoli? Is it a broccoli? Just one singular broccoli? No, is it, a green vegetable? Is it salsa? Is it corn tortilla, which has fiber in it and is technically a plant, right? So you can kind of build your plate this way. And it works a lot better than looking at like a food pyramid, which is why we stopped using the food pyramid a long time ago, right? And now they've reintroduced it. We use your plate. We look at how do you build a plate, right? A fourth of the plate should be protein. A fourth of the plate should be some type of starch. And again, like a grain or something like that, or bread or rice. And then you have like half the plate or 3/4 of the plate being a vegetable or salads and fiber and fruits or whatever it is, right? You could also look at, okay, maybe building a meal, 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal, 3 to 10 grams of fiber per meal, 50 grams of carbs per meal, things like that. If you are at the point where you're like kind of tracking or you're looking for something to track, I don't necessarily recommend tracking everything all at once. But again, like, okay, maybe I'm just going to start paying attention to food labels a little bit more and trying to add more fiber. Okay, what's a fiber source in this meal? And then doing an audit for your day and realizing, oh, I only eat 10 grams of fiber most times, or I only eat, 20 grams of protein all day long, right? So start to monitor yourself, sure, but I don't necessarily recommend like you're weighing everything, you're tracking everything. It's just exhausting, even for professionals to do that. So there are ways to improve the quality of your plate and quality of your meals and nutrition and all of that without like getting into the nitty-gritty of like every single number every single day. So I will do audits, right? Audit your meal, audit your snack, just start paying attention a little bit more to maybe your go-tos and how much does this actually have in it? If you have no idea, other people, I tell them to stop looking at the numbers because they get really obsessive over it. And then it's also like ruining their quality of life. So the advice is going to look different depending on you. But let's just say that now you have some staple meals. They're satisfying. They have enough protein, they have enough fiber, they have enough fat, they're feeling good, right? And you're like, yeah, this is great. Well, now what happens when you travel? What happens when you get sick? What happens when you get depressed? What happens when you don't have access to that food? What happens when you're quote unquote off plan? Well, you're never off plan because nutrition is every single day and you deserve to eat every single day and you have choices to make every single day. So number 4, safety net. A plan for when you don't plan. This is the missing piece for most people. I want you to have those convenience emergency options, the freezer meals, the grab and go foods, the quick combinations, the gas station foods, the go-to Subway order. And it doesn't mean that you can't have it be a little bit higher calorie, or it doesn't mean that you can't order dessert when you're out and about. Yes, do all of those things. But now you have the chocolate cake in front of you. Are you somebody who, like, you have to comment on the fact that, oh, I just can't handle that many sweets and blah, blah, blah? Or are you somebody who binges it all? Or are you somebody who puts it in a to-go box and then eats it on in the car ride home so that nobody sees, and then you shove it in the bottom of the trash, right? Like, there are these other behavioral things that we do where, okay, you're eating really clean, but now you have something that's off plan or like not in your regular repertoire, and you can't control yourself over it. Or you feel really guilty when you do have pizza or cake or whatever it may look like, right? Or some people will skip meals because they just forgot to eat, but they know they need to be eating because, they got that through their brain of like, okay, I should be eating 3 meals a day. Well, not every day is going to look perfect. And then now you feel guilty that you've skipped, lunch. And it's just this mental spiral that doesn't even need to be there. So yes, it happens. Yes, you'll have to talk yourself through it. Yes, this takes lots of practice. But if you can have a safety net, if you can know what to do when you catch yourself stress eating or catch yourself craving something really specific because you had a stressful day or because you skipped a meal and you're like, I need calories and fat and protein right now, or you catch yourself binging on the weekends because you go out to eat with friends and now you have access to the food that you don't allow yourself during the week. And this is what I deal with a lot with my clients is, oh, I'm so good. I eat so good. I eat chicken and protein and I eat, a protein shake after my workout. And then I just have like meat and vegetable for dinner. It's great. But then like we dig a little bit deeper and it turns out they either like never allow themselves sweets. And then when they have sweets in front of them, they cannot control themselves. And it's like, okay, so the solution to stop your binging is to just not have that food in the house. But like that doesn't stop your binging because you're still doing it. And I would rather you be able to have sweets in the house and like not feel like they have control over you. And so if that's kind of working against you in certain situations, we want to learn how to handle that, indulgence, craving, binging, all of that stuff. And a lot of times that comes with like a mental side, an emotional side, and a stress side, not necessarily a here's a meal plan, stop buying the ice cream side. There's a lot of dietary plans, including Whole30, where they're like, oh, let's break your sugar addiction by cutting out all sugar. Well, guess what? All of the evidence actually points to the complete opposite. We've talked about it before on this podcast, where the more you cut out, the more you restrict, the more you scarce mindset. Man, I'm like fumbling over my words even worse than normal. You can tell I've been up all day. All day. Yes, it's been a long day. Okay, getting back on track. A lot of time, this mental restriction, right, is really what's driving our behavior for craving and binging and being quote unquote indulgent. And being able to manage your stress in other ways, being able to recognize and label when that's happening and pivot, and not just like, oh, I realize when I'm hungry, I'm actually thirsty. Like, no, sometimes you are actually hungry. So again, we have staples that are satisfying and that are, structured and nutritious. Then you can add in these safety net indulgence. Oh, I can, allow myself some flexibility because it's not that big of a deal because I'm getting my protein and my fiber. I'm working on my structure and my meal timing and making sure I'm not skipping meals. I'm working on making sure that I eat enough every meal so that I'm not binging later on in the day, so that now I can have this chocolate cake and like it doesn't derail me. I don't feel guilty about it. I don't overeat it. And I have some and like I move on with my life. So it's a process. It happens. But hopefully these 4 kind of pillars can help you reframe how you're looking at creating a meal plan or sticking to a meal plan. And then another thing with tracking real quick is a lot of people will track their food like reactively, right? You wake up, you decide to just have this for breakfast and then you track it while you're eating. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you tracking your food while you're eating. I want you to eat while you're eating. I want you to sit down and enjoy it and be mindful and all of those things. But it does help if you want to audit certain foods to maybe do it before you're eating or do it later. But a lot of people say that like by the end of the day, they just forget what they had. So maybe take a picture of it first and then log it later. Or something I really recommend is doing it the day before or doing it at a time where like maybe you're not hungry and you just have some extra time to scroll, whatever. And instead you open up MyFitnessPal or you open up Google and you say, okay, if I were to do an English muffin and 3 eggs and a cup of raspberries, what does that look like? Or if I were to add, eat this type of sandwich and then add an apple slice with some peanut butter, what does that look like? So you can start just putting in some meals other times. Like, don't do it when you're sitting at the table trying to eat food, or don't do it, after every single meal and you're just like going on willy-nilly. Instead, be a little proactive, maybe do it the day before. That way also you're not like end of the day, oh my gosh, I have 500 calories left to eat. Or all of a sudden you have these really weird macros, quote unquote, left to eat. If you're like aiming for 100 grams of protein and then you realize, oh shoot, I need 40 grams of protein at dinner time, but like I didn't really plan to cook a steak tonight, right? So being a little proactive and being able, again, to be flexible and to understand that you're not going to be perfect at it, especially like at first. And even if you've done it for a while or you have done it in the past, like it takes practice to be able to be flexible and intuitive and still be structured and still hit your goals and still be nutritious, right? So give yourself some grace, as I always say, right? And shoot me an email, hello@KaylaMarieFitness.com, or a DM on my Instagram, KaylaMarie_fit. You know the rule. I love to just chat about this. So if you have questions, I'm not going to like invoice you, but I also do work one-on-one with people online and in person in Montana. So if you are local or if you are not local and if you're online, I've got some options for you if you wanted to work together. So let me know how I can be of service and help you understand a little bit more about your tendencies and how to create this meal plan. Because this is what I do with people is I do help you create the meal plan. I do walk you through how many, calories you should be getting if that's something that is important to you and you're at a point where we can be doing that. But a lot of times I just work on the nutrition quality. I work being more intuitive, giving you more information and resources so that you can feel empowered and you don't have to be like, what do I eat that's healthy? Or, is this healthy or is this not healthy? Like it takes time to learn this stuff and I'm here to help you through it. So hope you enjoyed this episode. I will chat at you next time. Send it to a friend who can benefit. And I hope you eat nutritiously and deliciously this week. See you next time. Bye. Thanks so much for being here, friends. If you enjoyed this episode, please screenshot and tag me over on Instagram or leave a 5-star review wherever you are listening from. Your support means the world to me and only helps me get the No BS news out to more people. If you're interested in working with me in nutrition or personal training, check out my programs and courses on my website at KaylaMarieFitness.com and on Instagram at KaylaMarie_fit. See you next week.